Cubing is missing 7 big things in order to grow into a real sport. I have a whole big whiteboard full of all sorts of things I want to talk about, but the first big thing I think cubing is missing if it wants to grow into a real sport is a sound competitive environment. When I say sound, I mean a few things, but 2 in particular. First, rules and regulations that actually work. Any sort of sport or competitive discipline needs rules, referees, and some sort of defined arena where if you're going to compete, you know that if you win, it will stay that way. There are rules you're going to follow and there are consequences if you don't. And right now, there are a number of things in cubing where that's not quite happening. There have been a few different incidents with scrambles, whether we're talking about different groups of competitors getting different scrambles at a world championship level, or somebody going into a final round thinking they won and then later having their title taken away from them. I understand some of the arguments for both sides of each of these incidents. I don't know enough to make a opinion on what I think should happen, but the fact that we can even have things like somebody being declared a world champion and it getting taken away is kind of crazy. Or an older incident is somebody losing the world champion title because the timer they were using malfunctioned. It was completely out of their control, and yet that hardware was the best that we had. Another thing is the whole sliding issue, where somebody can obviously violate the regulations, and yet it's very difficult to actually consistently punish or stop them from doing it. So as long as stuff like this consistently happens in cubing, it's not a sound competitive environment. It's not really respectable and solid. The other thing that I think the competitive environment needs is a recognition of current skill. The WCA kind of exists as a World Cube Association, for those who don't know, kind of exists as a database. They collect all the times of a whole bunch of people who've ever solved the Rubik's Cube. But really, that's not how any other sport works. If you look at any sports league or competitive activity, they rank people based on the current season, not the entire length of the discipline's history. Even in individual sports like golf, they work toward a championship by accruing points over the course of a competitive year. Or in something like soccer, you get points toward a playoff. There is no all-time rank. And even in something like swimming, where it's just one time versus another time. It's still seasonal. It's still who is the best in this year and how does that build up to a championship event. And we don't have this right now. So what we probably need in order to mature is to create a competitive format that becomes the go-to, the primary format that is based around a seasonal ranking, not one of all-time greatness. And championships becoming more of the standard for who is great is starting to do that, but cubing still places a very, very, very high record on all-time records, high emphasis on all-time records as opposed to seasonal or current skill level. Another thing that would be really great to see is more recognition of all-rounders, people who are extremely skilled across disciplines. We could achieve this by having a podium for people who have certain sum of ranks at certain championships. We could achieve this by having a much more front and center ranking for these people. And in our season-based leaderboards, not only ranking people who are performing in, just 3x3 or just Megaminx, but also ranking people who have the best sum of results across all categories. I think both of these, along with just the fundamental rules and regulations, need to happen before cubing even has the foundation that it needs to grow. Now, before I go into the rest of the stuff up here, I want to explain why I hold the opinions that I do. And to do that, I need to talk about a few different aspects of a competitive discipline. So down here, I've got 4 different continuums or spectrums of a competitive discipline. How appealing is it to watch for the general public versus the hardcore fan base? How valuable is the audience of the discipline? Is the activity itself very casual or very competitive? And is the barrier to entry super low or super high? I'll place cubing on all of these in a second, but I want to talk about all of these in the context of a handful of other competitive disciplines, and then I'll jump into how I think cubing lands on these different things. So, first, how appealing is this discipline to watch? Is it appealing for anyone or only for hardcore fans? I want to highlight cricket as my first thing here, as something that is extremely, extremely appealing to watch for anybody. If you don't know about the Indian Cricket League, the Indian Premier League, you really need to go look into it. There's a fantastic podcast that I'll put on the screen about it if you want to dive into the deep business history about it. But the Indian Premier League is a super good example of a sporting discipline that has been intentionally made appealing for anybody. The ratings for Indian Premier League cricket are extremely high, with men and boys, who are normally the primary target audience for sports, but equally high with moms and daughters, because the competitive events are both about the activity of cricket, and then the broadcasting company brings in movie stars and famous musicians into the events. So it becomes a whole spectacle that's both about the cricket and also about the celebrities and the musicians who are there to perform. So literally anyone in India watches these events because there's something about this spectacle that's appealing to everybody. It's not just about the cricket. The spectacle is something that the entire family wants to watch. What that does is the entire family then watches the thing, which makes that audience very, very valuable. It's not just the kids who are watching it. It's not just the dads and kids. The moms are invested in it as well. So when kids come to the family asking for a jersey or something, some sort of merchandise that ties to the league, everybody knows what they're asking for, and everybody kind of understands why the kid wants it, which makes the likelihood that the kid gets what they want much higher. Now, the audience for Indian Premier League cricket tends to be from much, much, much lower income countries. Obviously, India is kind of on the upswing, but the reason I wanted to talk about cricket is they do a phenomenal job of making it appealing for anyone to watch. Now, about this whole valuable audience thing, this is where I want to talk about golf and pickleball. So how is it that pickleball, a relatively niche game, and actually a game that primarily hardcore players watch, pickleball has not managed to garner public attention? But how does it have such professional broadcasts and such established touring circuits? It's because the audience is really valuable. It's seniors in first world countries. So the same is true for golf. Even though golf's viewership is many multiples lower than other major American sporting leagues, the money behind golf is astronomical because the audience is extremely rich, and the equipment and all of the aspects of golf lend itself to money exchanging hands. You have to buy an expensive set of clubs. You have to go to expensive golf courses. You have to buy the right kind of clothes. You got to rent golf carts. And it tends to be people who are in a retirement age, so you're going to hire coaches or trainers for this expensive discipline. And then you're going to go pay for driving ranges, and you're going to... The list just goes on and on and on, the ways you can spend money in golf. It's less true in pickleball, but the same principle applies. It is generally an older, retired audience with lots of disposable income. On the flip side, let's take something like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Smash Ultimate is an esport, kind of. And Smash Ultimate has the problem of sitting squarely on the opposite side of this continuum of valuable audience. And the reason is Smash Ultimate is a video game that is primarily played by kids or adults with low incomes. And I know this because I've talked to broadcasters of the game. On top of that, Smash Ultimate tends to be a very casual activity. It can skew a little competitive, but Smash Ultimate as a video game is made by Nintendo, and Nintendo does not try to make their games very competitive. They intentionally make their games kind of silly, kind of focused on people just goofing off and having fun. So the activity itself is intended to be casual. So when people pick it up, they want to get better at the game. But it's primarily a casual thing. There are a number of disciplines like this. Let's take playing chess, for example. Chess is something that most people play casually, but it is an incredibly, obviously competitive thing. Most people, when they pick up chess, associate the game with, chess tournaments. It is casual, but there's an extreme amount of competitive activity in it as well. Something like CrossFit, on the other hand, is really interesting because while yes, there's a very established CrossFit games and competitive scene for CrossFit, the vast majority of participants are going to live over here in casual land, doing it as a way to improve their life and make themselves more fit and healthy. Whereas if you're getting into chess, you might be doing it because it's fun, but the fun of chess probably comes from the competitiveness of it, not from the activity itself. Whereas CrossFit can be competitive, but there are many reasons to do it casually outside of it simply being competitive. The last thing I wanted to talk about is barrier to entry. And this is where I've grabbed this niche Olympic disciplines. This is going to be things like curling, bobsledding in the Winter Olympics, some sort of Summer Olympics game like triathlon. These are things that most normal people aren't just gonna go on the street and do, right? If you grab something like swimming or American football from up here, American football, if you're from the US, you've tossed around a football at some point. You have played the game with your friends in the backyard at some point, but nobody in their backyard just walks out and is like, hey guys, wanna whip up a quick pentathlon over here so that we can, like, nobody ever says that, right? Not even me, and I was a weird kid. So, on barrier to entry, even though in the Olympics, there are these niche sports that have a really high barrier to entry that get really strong viewership numbers, most people are not going to be playing those games. Whereas something like American football or chess, just about everybody has picked up one of these, right? So it has broad appeal just because we've all experienced it to some degree. So where does cubing rank on all of these different continuums? And I'll explain why this understanding is important as I go through the rest of the video. But I would put cubing first on appealing to watch for anyone versus hardcore people are watching it. I would skew cubing a little bit to the left side of this continuum. So if you have no idea how to solve a cube, you still implicitly understand what's happening. Oh, it's not solved, he's going fast, it's more solved, it's done. Whose time is faster? Like, you just understand it, right? Whereas if you watch a game like, I don't know, League of Legends in esports, you really have no clue what's happening unless you're dedicated to the sport. Now, the events that cubing puts on are not inherently appealing for anyone, but anyone can pick it up and know exactly what's going on. Chess isn't like this. You have to know rules of how chess works in order to watch it. So cubing does have that going for it, that anyone can watch it and implicitly know what's happening. If the broadcast, competitors, etc. are entertaining enough, anyone can watch it and get it. How valuable is cubing's audience? This, in my opinion, is the biggest problem right now. It's extremely not valuable. It is primarily kids. If you look at the competitors in the cubing community, it skews very young, and kids can't spend a lot of money. And kids change very quickly. So let's say that you are a 30-year-old and you're a big fan of a sports team. You're probably going to stay a fan of that sports team for life. Whereas if you're 15 and you are into a certain hobby, we all know your preferences for that hobby are going to change over time, which means that your lifetime value to any business or advertiser is really, really low. So like that is a big problem as it relates to cubing. Additionally, and I know this because I've talked to the team that broadcasted the US Nationals recently, getting people to buy things from a cubing live stream is kind of difficult. There's not high purchasing intent behind those viewers. Whereas if you watch any tips channel about pickleball or golf, there are like 19 different product placements for the equipment and the coaching programs and the clothes that they're gonna wear and the places and the tournaments to go to that they can do. And the people watching it want to go buy those things. Whereas if you watch a cubing tutorial video or a competitive cubing video, there are few to no product placements like that, which means there's not money sloshing around. And if there are, most of the audience is either young enough or not in a buying stuff frame of mind that they're going to actually purchase those things. So next, as a thing, are Rubik's Cubes generally casual or generally competitive? I would say that cubing generally, right now, skews toward the casual side of this continuum, but it's right in the middle, because anyone who picks up a Rubik's Cube understands that you could go faster, right? But implicitly, cubing is not competitive. Implicitly, cubing is solve the puzzle because it's fun and you want to improve your brain. But we've turned this thing that is a brain teaser into a competitive discipline. It's a little bit different from a game that we created explicitly to be who wins or loses this thing. And then how is the barrier to entry? Thankfully, I would say the barrier to entry for cubing is very, very low. Like, everybody has Rubik's Cube sitting around their house. We've all picked up a Rubik's Cube and played with it before. It's where you're always like one YouTube tutorial away from solving the thing, and then you can get really invested in watching people do it quickly. So the great news is that on 3 of these 4 axes, cubing is actually in a really good spot. The biggest hole in the potential that cubing has as a discipline right now is that the audience is not valuable at all. Too young, not used to spending money, no products that we have like proven record of the audience buying outside of cubing hardware and occasionally coaching, and no proof that we can move the audience of a live stream to a major outside sponsor brand, right? So all that being said, what are the other 6 pieces that I think cubing is missing? And why did I say all of that? Well, the next big one is we're missing entertaining competitive spectacles. So we have phenomenal major competitive events, right? The World Championship, the National Championship. Those are great competitive events. But if you are not a hardcore cuber, it is not fun to watch the entire US Nationals Championship or the World Cubing Championship, because it primarily focuses on the technical skill of the solvers, not storylines. Okay, so coming back to the spectrums that I laid out a minute ago, cubing implicitly is appealing to watch for anybody, but to keep people's attention around that implicit thing, it has to be really, 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 really good. Like, all the little rough edges of the broadcast have to be gone. And there has to be something that people are staying for beyond just the numbers being faster than each other. So that's what I'm trying to say with this polished edges thing right here. So I'm going to tell a story, and the story will probably make this point better than I will. There's this great, let me just pull it up. Okay, so there's this phenomenal thread on Hacker News. This is a website where nerds talk to each other about companies they're starting. And there's this guy who puts out a comment about a company called Dropbox. And Dropbox is an incredibly successful company. And this nerd in 2007 is like, I have a few qualms with Dropbox. And then he basically says like, well, if you're a Linux user, you can do this quite trivially by doing all these like super nerdy things. It doesn't actually replace USB drives. Like, most people I know do all these other things. He basically just points out all these reasons why Dropbox is not very useful. And he's like, this will never work. You can get around it in all these ways. And there's all these easy ways to do that instead. Why do people think this is going to be valuable? Well, lo and behold, Dropbox valuation, yeah, there you go. Somewhere in the ballpark of $7.5 billion with a B. Why is Dropbox so valuable if that nerd is right? And you can very easily duplicate what Dropbox does just with a few funny little commands on your computer. It's because there is zero friction in using the product for the general public. If you want to attract new people to a thing that you're building, it has to be extremely user-friendly. There cannot be any bumps, bruises, or rough edges when you start using it. This is why when you go on a first date with somebody, you put every possible best foot forward, because you want there to be no friction. You don't want them to have any reason to look away or go to somebody else. And then now once you get married, like I'm married, I've been married for like 6 months now. It's awesome. My wife and I do not hide our rough edges from each other because we're married. We're committed to each other. But we wouldn't have shown all the funny, funky, rough edges of each other to each other like on the very first date. It takes time, it takes commitment, but to the general public, you don't do that, right? And so what's happening with cubing broadcasts, I think, is For hardcore cubers who are committed to the community, the broadcasts are phenomenal. They highlight all the fundamentals of what speed cubing is very, very well, but there are rough edges. The casters are a little bit odd at moments. The quality of the video and the ways that it's positioned is a little bit funky. You can kind of tell that it's like a home run stream instead of like a super professional broadcast. And this is no dig at any of the production companies. I'm friends with the guys who've streamed the major championships, and they do a great job. But in order to make it an entertaining, really competitive thing, an entertaining spectacle for the general public, all those rough edges and friction of watching have to go away. Like right now, we're like the nerd on Hacker News who says Dropbox isn't useful. Like, yeah, the speed cubing broadcasts are pretty dang good. Like, we don't really need to improve it all that much. Well, there's a lot of room to improve them if we want it to become entertaining for the general public and for, honestly, like average cubers as well. The last thing, and the reason this is super important, is because we need to demonstrate what I would call minimum audience proof. In business, when you have a business idea, you launch what's called a minimum viable product. It's the absolute least amount of work that goes into making something to see if people will buy it. So if I'm gonna launch a dog grooming business, I'm not gonna go buy all my soap and my brushes and stuff first. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna print off some flyers and run around to all the houses in my neighborhood and see if anybody wants me to groom their dog. And if someone says yes, I have proof that somebody wants the thing I'm selling. Then I go buy my soap and brushes and stuff, come back to them, and I groom their dog. So with cubing, if we want to grow cubing, which requires advertisers, people who are going to pay money to get in front of the audience, we need some sort of proof to hand those people to say, hey, look, we had 10,000 people watch this broadcast, and of those 10,000 people, we convinced 200 of them to go buy this product. We could do the same thing for you. Right now, we don't have very much of that. I haven't seen the numbers of this for cube stores, cube manufacturers, etc. And I would love to. If you're a store, manufacturer, etc., my email is on my channel, and I would love to talk about these business numbers with you. But I do know that when it comes to non-cubing specific products that have been advertised on recent nationals live streams, like sales are in the single digits across all the thousands of people that tune into the live stream. So we don't have minimum proof, right, to convince advertisers, hey, you should come, like, give your brand to us. Like, you should trust us with your brand. That's a scary thing. What we need to grow, this is piece number 3, is some sort of advertiser and a huge spike in the distribution of cubing, how many people see it. We cannot get to this point until these first 2 things are solved. And something I see a lot of cubers like talking about, just kind of like, you know, in different group chats and online and stuff, is like, oh, we need advertisers, we need more money in cubing, we need, you know, like more views on all the content. I don't think that's the case yet. I don't think we're ready for that. I think that we have to iron out some of the kinks in our competitive system and make the competitive events we have more entertaining for a slightly wider audience than they already are. Otherwise, we'll get somebody who comes into the community, pays us money, and says, okay, get me a return on this money, and because the competitive environment wasn't ready, something will kind of break down in the process, or because the spectacle isn't entertaining enough, isn't engaging enough, we wouldn't be able to deliver return on those people's investment. And then we would fail at this stage of the process because these things weren't done yet. So I think we have to get these done first before we can talk about adding advertisers and growing the budget. It's a bit of a catch-22 because money helps you do a better competitive spectacle. But until things are better on this side, this just won't work very well, at least coming at it from a business angle. What I do think needs to happen, like in order for cubing to really grow, those first 2 things need to be done, and then we need what I would call a rich patron. So I get the word patron because like patron for Sistine Chapel. I totally butchered that spelling. So there's this family, well, there are families or rich royals who will pay for artists throughout like world history. So different like, rich popes commissioned Michelangelo to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Da Vinci, same thing. And there's all sorts of examples of artists and people who do things that are not businesses necessarily, but they're still cool, art especially, that rich people who have lots of money will look at what they're doing and go, I like this. I have more money than I know what to do with. Take some of my money so you can focus on your art. Cubing kind of needs that. We need somebody who can go, I see the vision. I see what cubing could become. I see why cubing is cool. Somebody who has like the eyes for both the business of getting advertisers. That's different. That's what I'm talking about over here with Patron. This is somebody who has the eyeballs to point at cubing. So we need two things. We need a rich patron who's willing to risk money on cubing, even though it may not be profitable yet, because there has to be something to like start the engine to get the ball rolling. And then we need somebody who has a big audience that they can point toward cubing, because I don't think cubing will grow on its own. An example of this and the realistic way that I think it's going to happen is through icons and role models, not SpeedCube broadcasting companies. So individuals in disciplines like cubing are way, way, way more important than the sport and the governing body of the sport itself. So these are 4 examples of people across several different disciplines where the individual carries the sport and not the other way around. So Sam Sulek is a bodybuilder, workout guy. Way, 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 way more people watch Sam Sulek's videos, like millions more, than watch competitive bodybuilding. But Sam Sulek is a decorated competitive bodybuilder. Adam Bobrow makes table tennis content, and he gets millions of views on his table tennis content. Way more people, at least in the West, watch Adam Bobrow than watch competitive table tennis. The individual carries the discipline. Kelly Slater is a competitive surfer. Way more people watch Kelly Slater's vlogs and information than watch competitive surfing. Jinxie is a Twitch streamer. He streams Clash Royale a lot. Clash Royale is growing a ton literally because this one streamer decided to focus on playing it on his streams a lot. Like the competitive Clash Royale League gets similar viewership for its major events that Jinxie gets just on his random playing Clash Royale on Tuesday night streams. These individuals grow the sport or discipline way more than like the official broadcasting company of the whoever does, right? Oh, good grief. So if you look back down here, we need advertisers, rich people who go, I see the vision of cubing, I will invest money in this and hope I get it back. But we also need what I call distribution, getting the product out to the viewer. And for that, we need someone who has eyeballs. And that's almost certainly not going to come through an broadcasting company. It's going to come through icons, individuals, role models. And the really interesting thing about cubing is we have never really had this from somebody who is a competitor. We've had this from non-competitors. I can name you dozens and dozens of major cubing YouTubers who are not really strong competitors, but make really engaging YouTube content like JPerm, Cubehead, Kingman, etc. But those guys, JPerm sort of was, but never at a world-class level. Those guys were not competing at the highest level. They were making engaging content for the viewer. We need someone like Sam or someone like Kelly, somebody who is super dedicated to their discipline and also builds an audience behind them, which is somewhat of what I'm trying to do, but that's a long process that will be shaped over a long time. The reasons this is important is first, individuals just naturally will accrue more viewers than an entire sport, which is really interesting, but it's how things work in disciplines like cubing. The other is that it drives storylines, not just a focus on the art of the cube. It creates a spectacle that has deeper appeal. I said this in my previous video, but the reason the documentary, The Speedcubers, was so successful is because it was a spectacle about cubing that was deeper than cubing. It was about people. There was a storyline about people disguised by a story about cubing. If we build build up individuals and role models in cubing, people will start rooting for and following after those individual people instead of the whole discipline. And then the whole discipline grows as a result. So that's the fourth thing we're missing. The fifth thing I think that we're missing is high skill, lifetime dedicated competitors. Now, it's interesting that I put this as the fifth thing, or fourth, this is fifth thing on the list. Why is this coming so late? Shouldn't high skill competitors be one of the first things on the list? No, I don't think so. In order for cubing to grow, we need sound competitive regulations before anything else. In order for it to grow, we need entertaining competitive spectacles that are polished and low friction for the general public to watch. And if those two things are true, then we can add in advertisers. If all three of those things are true, and we have individual icons who can pull even more audience into cubing, then if high skill competitors choose to dedicate their life to cubing, they have enough stable incentives, financial, fame, room to grow, ways to make an impact and be remembered, so that they can commit to cubing for life, right? We really haven't had this hardly at all. We've had a lot of people who've cubed for a little while, but then moved on to other pursuits, whether it be for financial reasons, personal reasons, my impact isn't going to be that big in this area, etc., right? Like life needs more to it than cubing, which is fine. As of right now, that is what cubing is for almost everybody. But to grow cubing to the highest possible level, we need everything before this point so that people can commit for life and push the discipline to new heights. Like, how cool would it be to have solvers who are completely versed to like a globaling 4.1 or 4.0 level on 3x3? Like, imagine if Yihang's turning speed and recognition and inspection planning was married to near perfect ZB recognition. That'd be the coolest thing ever to see. Nearly unstoppable, but that would push cubing to a completely new level. But the only way someone gets to that point is if you are dedicated for life to cubing, like 10 or 15,000 hours in one event level dedicated. And that won't happen unless everything else is there. Once all this stuff is in place, the casual community needs to grow even more. And this is a more generally understood thing. There needs to be lots of content for casuals to watch, and right now, YouTube cubing is kind of starved for casual-focused content that's not brain rot. And in order to do this, we really need icons and role models, which is what goes on back here. This really is a result of everything that comes before this. If all the previous pieces, a sound community, entertaining broadcasts, some sort of like internal community icons who are cubing competitors with an audience, and then we have external patrons and people with an audience pointing more eyeballs and money at cubing, and we have people who are solely focused on getting as fast as possible, the casual community will grow. Because there's attention being pointed toward cubing, there are people pushing to be really good at the discipline, who are documenting what they're doing as they go on the way, like me, and so people will naturally come and stay. If this happens, the last big thing I think cubing needs is a better growth structure for competitors. China is kind of nailing this right now, which is why they're absolutely demolishing the rest of the world in cubing. But if you look at various Olympic disciplines, there are countries in each one that just win, like Russia in synchronized swimming. Why is that? It's because that area of the world has a growth structure for anybody who wants to be in this discipline. They have something like an incubator or a camp, or even like a literal place to go live to study that thing. They have teams or squads of individuals who work together to train. Training squads is a big thing in a lot of video games where it's like a whole bunch of individuals, but they like find other people to spar with or scrim with and play a lot with. And then cubing doesn't have teams at all. It's just individuals. But a lot of competitive disciplines have teams who then have a coach whose whole job is to improve the people beneath them. And we are not quite at the point where there are coaches in cubing who are not top competitors. But at some point, there will be people in cubing whose main role is to coach and improve the people around them, not be a top-level competitor themselves. And when this sort of thing happens in Western cubing, I will be really happy. When there are structures, communities, and dedicated instructors where really, really high aspiring cubers can come together and push each other and be pushed by somebody whose job is not to be good at the discipline of cubing, but at the art of motivating and growing others. So that's my 7 things that I think cubing is missing right now. And if we had all of these all at once, or at least in this order, we would be seeing a huge growth in the competitive cubing community. Let me know thoughts, questions, etc. down in the comment section. And while you're down there, I'm going to throw a timestamp on the screen. It's going to be like 35 minutes, somewhere in there. If you got this far in the video, just drop that timestamp in your comment and let me know that you got this far, if you listened to me yap for 35 minutes. And also, please double check if you're subscribed to the channel. I had a few people comment this last week and go, wow, I didn't know I wasn't subscribed. I've been really liking your videos. So yeah, just double check, hit the subscribe button, helps the algorithm, helps me. Thank you so much. Okay, so now, if you are new here, every single week, in addition to my talking about some subject, I make a training plan for how I'm going to improve at cubing. I log all of it in this big spreadsheet I have, and then I review it at the end of the week and make kind of notes and improvement for the next week. My ultimate goal is to get to the final round at a major championship for everything 3x3 up to 7x7, sometime by 2031. They don't all have to be at the same one. They can be different championships, but yeah. Today, I talked a lot about how we can make cubing a real sport, the pieces I think are missing from the growth pipeline. The rest of this video, I'm going to be recapping my training from last week and how I'm going to get better at cubing next week. Water break. Whew, okay. My next competition is Temecula Valley Winter. It's coming up in about 3 weeks. I'm doing 3x3, 4x4, and 6x6. So yeah, last week, my training. So for 3x3, I trained a little less than last week. I was doing like an hour and a half of solves a day, and then I was doing an F2L, a drill where I scrambled for solved cross and just did F2L. Initially, I was thinking I was going to do way more drills. Like I'm going to do a last layer only drill, and I'm going to do an inspection drilling, and those were kind of useful, but I quickly realized that doing all of those was not going to be consistent, and the bottleneck in my solving right now is F2L fluidity. So this is what I actually did this week. Solves are taking me a while because I'm inspecting for a long time. I'll talk about that in a second, but I am improving pretty substantially. I got a 10.3 average of 100. I got a sub 7 average of 5 this week. I'll show you my time improvement a little bit later, but things are improving consistently week over week. Notes on this last week. I need to be flexible within a session. So I put up this table in a previous video where it was like, I'm going to do 3x3 for 15 minutes and then 4x4 for 20 and then 3x3 for 15 and then 5x5 for 15 and then like super rigid. And that's silly. Like if I'm in the zone, I just need to like do another 35 3x3 solves and just ride out the momentum. If I'm not really feeling it on 3x3, I just need to jump over to 7x7, warm my brain up, and then come back to 3x3. Like flexibility within a session is more important than following a rigid schedule. But as long as over the course of a 3 to 4 hour session, I get time in on each event that I'm training for, I'm happy with it. So that's an adjustment that I need to make. Another note from this last week. For every solve I did, I have this little clicker right here, and I click this. Is it focused? Yeah, it's a little, click. Very satisfying. Every solve that I did, I would track, my time, obviously, but then did I do this thing in that solve? Was I pauseless through cross +1? If I was, click the clicker. And I would keep track over an average of 50. How many solves was I pauseless on cross +1? How many solves did I not pause during F2L? And I thought tracking fluidity during F2L would be a really good indicator of whether or not my solve was fast. As it turns out, it had nothing to do with it. In fact, there was almost an inverse correlation between whether or not I paused in F2L and whether I was getting a good solve. I think that's because the solves where I was completely fluid are solves where I was being really inefficient. So the ones where I could never pause all the way through, I had really long solutions for all my F2L pairs, so I had time to find the next ones. Whereas ones where I had really efficient multi-slots or something, I would slow down and speed up or have a brief pause as I found my next pair between pairs 2 and 3 or something. So this was a really bad indicator of whether or not I would be fast, which surprised me. But cross +1 transition is a phenomenal predictor of if I'm going to have a good solve or not, because it creates momentum. The pause itself is not the deal breaker. It's the fact that my turning is smooth and like the momentum carries all the way through the solve. If I'm locky after cross, and I'm searching to find my first pair, the likelihood of me being smooth through the rest of F2L, turning quickly and turning well during last layer is super, super low. So the solves where I had a good cross to F2L transition, almost all were faster than my global average, like almost 100%. So that was super interesting to me. And yet, even though F2L fluidity is a really bad indicator of how good my solve's gonna be, it's still my weak point, which confused me a lot. So this is a false connection I made in my brain. Cross to F2L transition is the best predictor of whether my solve will be fast or not. But the place I most frequently make mistakes is fluidity within F2L. So what should I fix? F2L fluidity. It's where I most frequently lose time. But in my head, I consistently am rewarded for doing cross to F2L transition well. So what I've been telling myself is, oh, I need to fix my cross +1. I need to fix my cross +1. Because when I do it well, I get like a dopamine hit, like fast solve, let's go. But really, what I need to fix is my F2L look ahead, not cross to F2L transition. If I fixed that, every one of my solves would get like half a second faster overnight, like immediately. If I could just improve look ahead during like my second and third F2L pairs. It like cross to F2L is not the thing I need to work on. This is my weak point. But I was getting confused because the instant dopamine hit of good cross to F2L equals fast individual solve was like, it was a really strong connection in my head. But watching all my solve footage this week and noticing what things correlated and noticing how good I was at my drills, I realized this. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'm pretty sure this is the case. On top of all that, I think just doing a lot of solves is the best way to practice for me right now. Like, obviously I need to work on a couple specific things. I'm going to keep doing my drill where I only solve F2L for 20 minutes or so, but I need to develop fluidity. And to do that, you do whole solves. If I can come up with more drills like my blind 2-pair F2L drill, I will, but I just need to get comfortable solving the cue and recognizing stuff in motion. So I think I'm just going to focus on solving. Those are the times I've seen the best improvement. I realized this week, I need to reset my CS timer session every single time I sit down to solve, like every time. And it's painful, but it helps my mentality so much. If I sit down to solve and I have 150 solves from yesterday in the CS timer session, I start freaking myself out because I have to beat my average of 100 from the previous day. I will not type in bad solves because I know it'll mess up my average of 100. I will not count +2s. It's a bad mentality. And when I sit down to a blank CS timer, I look at it and I go, today's a new day. However I'm solving today is however I'm solving today. And if I'm not solving well at the beginning of a session, I'm still entering all the times in. I'm getting a realistic picture of how I'm doing that day. So you don't have to do this, but I've found that for me, it gets me into a much better place to objectively look at how I'm doing and what I need to improve if I sit down and refresh my CS timer every single day. I'm still tracking all my times in a Google Sheet, but this has, I realized this halfway through the week, oh man, having a CS timer session keep going for 3x3 is really messing up my mentality. So this is something I'm going to do going forward. I normally did this. I tried not doing it this week and it was bad. Last thing to think about for me is I need to be a robot. There are a couple PLLs like the F-perm where I've been switching between doing 2 different finger tricks and it's bad. Even though there are times when one finger trick is better than the other, I need to just pick one and stick with it. There's an F2L case in my front left slot where there are a couple solutions that are good for it. I just need to pick one and always do it, because having the choice in my brain between 2 things slows me down so much. I just have to know this is what I'm doing and always do the exact same thing. Anytime I catch myself slightly deviating in how I do cases, I have to just delete that from my brain. No, you are going to be a robot for this case and do it the same way every single time. Also, I've been doing comp sims every day this last week. It's hard, man. Every single comp sim I have, I absolutely flubbed the last solve. I have the one I did today, it was going to be a 9.4 best possible average, and I got a 10.1. I got a worst possible average plus 2 the last solve. The things I've noticed are I don't close things out smoothly at all. I consistently +2, I'm shaky at the end, lock up at the end. And a realization I had today about this is there's a weightlifting analogy that can apply here. So with weightlifting, most of the benefit you get comes in the last 2 or 3 repetitions. So if I'm curling weight for 10 reps, it's like the 9th and 10th reps where your muscle is the most tired, that those matter the most because your muscle is going to grow the most as it pushes past its point of comfort. And what coaches will tell you when you're doing those last reps, and this is what I tell myself, is do that last one as if there's going to be another one after it. Most people have a tendency on the very last rep they do to be really sloppy because like, it's the last one, I just got to get through it, I just got to throw this weight around. But really, act like there's going to be another one coming next. Force yourself to be just as rigid during that rep as all the other ones. And I don't know why I didn't think about this with PLL, but there's so many solves where I'm turning well, and then I get to PLL and everything goes out the window of my mind and I just start turning like an absolute idiot. And it's like, no, dude, just keep turning as if it's the rest of the solve. Keep turning as if there's more solving to do after this and just finish all the way out. Keep your brain in the solve all the way till the end. I want to be like Max Park, where every turn he makes is mechanical and perfect and looks like all the other turns. Selecting my cross, I've only become dual color neutral in the last few weeks. I'm realizing that picking between white and yellow kind of has to be instinct. I can't actually look at both. You need to pick a cross within like 2 or 3 seconds. Otherwise, you are completely screwed on planning the cross and finding your first pair. So instinctive cross selection is important. And then go back to be a robot. Don't have in your head, is the other one better? Is the other one better? Once I pick a cross at 2.5 seconds into inspection, I have to just commit to it and erase the fact that I could be solving the other one from my mind and just find the best thing on this cross and do it well. Any possible hint of maybe a different way is better in my head messes me up on that particular cross. And I've only felt that most acutely during comp sims because I don't time inspection for the rest of my solves because I'm trying to build up my ability to inspect further into the cube. And then the last one is what I would call calm look ahead. When I solve 3x3 at least in a comp sim or in competition, there's like a different part of my brain that activates as I look ahead. So in normal solving sessions, I'm kind of chill, I'm sitting there, I'm just kind of looking at the cube, finding pieces. But when I'm in a comp sim, I'm like looking all over the cube, I'm moving my head all over the place, I'm turning the cube forwards and backwards in all these different ways. Like 150% of my brain is turned on because I'm trying to find all the pieces. That's so dumb. Like it actually makes me worse at finding pieces by looking around the cube extra. Just don't do that. And then a mentality thing about solving is when I sit down to do a competitive solve, my heart is a little bit fast, my adrenaline is a little bit fast. And so I would often tell myself, be calm, be slow, be smooth. That's silly because then I'm psyching myself out. I'm telling myself, slow down. Don't tell yourself that, Brandon. The better phrase that I'm going to try adopting this next week is just easy on the gas. I've been telling myself, keep your foot on the brake. Don't go too fast. Be controlled. That's silly. The whole point of cubing is to get into this flow state where your muscle memory and instincts just take over. Just don't sprint is a better way for me to think about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I've been telling myself. Oh, big cubes also. I know 3x3 is supposed to be my focus, but I love big cubes so much more than I love 3x3. I really didn't practice 4 and 5 that much this week. It was like a few minutes for both. I did quite a bit of 6 and 7 though. I got another 149 single on 6x6. My global is right at 208. I got the Alfu V5 for 7x7 this week. Dude, it is so good. Like, it is everything I hoped the puzzle would be. I was like, I really hope this puzzle is just insanely amazing and it makes me love 7x7, and it does. It's the best thing ever. I got it, and my global went from 330 to 315 in a day. And I've gotten a couple of sub 3 singles now with it, both of them today actually. So the main thing with big cubes that I'm improving is L4E structure. So I watched a couple of Kevin Hayes videos about doing 6x6 edges where you pair the middles of the 6x6 edge and then you basically reduce down to 5x5 edges, and I'd never thought about that idea, and it was super cool, and it's made my last 4 edges like 2 to 3 seconds faster on average because it's structured, kind of like how Megaminx solvers pick a color scheme and always solve in the same order. Doing that with my 6x6 edges helps a lot. And then with 7x7, what I've done previously is just kind of free slice whatever I want. Like, oh, these pieces look like they'll be nice, so I'll solve those, and then I'll solve these. But what has helped me a lot and dropped my last 4 edges times on 7x7 like 3 or 4 seconds is solving an entire edge and then solving the next entire edge. So like pick one edge and just finish it. And when you unslice, obviously be smart about it so that you're pairing pieces up on the way back. But structuring my L4E is something I've been thinking about a lot. And the other thing is what I call TPS bursts. So with 6x6 and 7x7 especially, you know what, 5x5 is very true of this too. There are parts of the solve that are very difficult, like your first 3 Yao edges. But then there are parts that are really easy, like last 2 centers. And I haven't been speeding up my turning when I get to easy parts of the solve. I'll get into a flow state, like I'm turning kind of at a certain speed, and I'll just keep turning slowly, even at parts where I can completely see for the next like 10 moves ahead. So I need to not do that. I need to stay in my flow during hard parts of the solve, like first 2 centers or first 3 edges. But when I get to parts where I can turn faster, do it. Spam TPS, cut a few seconds off your time. Really, all that I'm lacking in big cubes is fast turning and look ahead. So like training that for the easy parts now is super important. So stuff I'm doing next week. Basically, I just need to keep going. Not rocket science, but I put my times in a table, and in the last 45 days, I've dropped 3.5 seconds on 3x3. These are all averages of 100 or 150 that I've done the last few weeks. And when I looked at this table, I was like, holy crap, I'm actually doing really, really well. There are individual days where I'm like, I'm not improving very much. My solves feel crappy today. But like, I got a 10.3 average of 100 this week. And a month and a half ago, getting sub 12 seemed good. Now, obviously, I'm de-rusting. This is about the best I was when I quit cubing a year and a half ago. So this progression is fast. But even if in 45 more days, I just shave off 1 second and I'm globaling 9.3, I'd be thrilled with that. I'd be absolutely thrilled with that. So just keep doing what I've been doing and keep riding the momentum. Each individual day, I don't feel a lot of progress, but when I look back at a graph like this, it's like, holy cow. Showing up every day, tracking everything, making sure I never have days off, it's working really, really well. Quit overthinking. My best 3x3 solves are the ones where I just kind of look ahead and do the thing. I'm not activating 150% of my giant megamind brain and finding all the pieces and doing hard solutions. It's just go. Just do the thing. Turn pretty quick and look ahead. Credit to Max Park. Comp sims every day. I didn't do them every day this last week. Super bad. I have to. The skill of solving under pressure is what makes you a good speed cuber. If you can't solve in competition, you are not a good cuber. Well, you can be a good cuber, but you won't win anything. And my goal is to win, so I have to get good at solving under pressure. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm gonna do an average of 100 every day, and that's about 100 minutes. I'm averaging like a minute per solve between scrambling it and like drinking water and inspecting and all that. I'm inspecting for a long time still. I'm looking at a lot of different solutions, trying to see really deep into the solve. Yawn. Do F2L only drill, where I do a cross only scramble, a cross solved scramble and solve the F2L, and then just whatever I want on 4 through 7, because I just pick up big cubes so often. I don't need to force myself to do it. That practice will just come. But for 3x3, I have to hold myself to this average of 100 every week. So that's it for this week. If you have any questions or comments for me, please drop them down below. I literally read and respond to every single one of them. It means a lot to see the encouragement. And with all of that, I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to do the hard work to improve at cubing every single day, especially when I don't feel like it.